Welcome to the Two Big D's podcast. We're your new friends,
Dan Cash
and Danny Kosh. We are not the big D's you're here for. This episode is crammed with so much D. We've got D,
dating
versus D,
dad life.
relationship highs and lows of the week,
We've got your big D's,
decisions,
where you've written to ask for our help in making some big life decisions. And let's not forget
the Two Big D's, discussions,
where we delve into two hot topics or news features from the week, and at the end of the episode we'll decide who gave the best D. But really, we're here to entertain, make you laugh, make each other laugh, and just generally
fling
a little more D into your week. Fling.
Fling. So what's new with you, Dan Cash?
Not a lot really, Danny Kosh.
Quiet week?
Quiet week. Yeah, I mean, the other day I was talking about how it was a bit road ragey.
Yeah, I remember. I'm still judging you about that.
Yeah, fair play. Because I drive here and it's like an hour, isn't it?
Yes.
So I am normally a very musical driver in regards of like...
Breaking wind?
Yes, just every sound. No, I am a driver who listens to music.
Okay.
And sings loud.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking like a little like la-di-da-di-da. I'm like Broadway debut level singing in the car.
Great.
Musical soundtracks. I have to know every word. So my driving playlist comprises of songs that I know every word to, every little, nuance in there, so that I can perform, basically.
Do you drive like you don't realize that people can see in the windows?
I just don't care.
Because I do that. Like, I will sometimes be full Celining it, like, shall we go for it? At the front of the car. And then I look over and people are just like actively mocking me.
Yeah.
But that might just be because I drive a shitty car. Who knows?
Who knows? Both, probably. No, I'm a big singer. However, I've decided since starting this podcast to listen to more podcasts. So now while I drive, on my hour drive, I listen to a podcast. Oh. And it has unlocked a newfound rage within me.
Oh.
And that is Deborah. Deborah is the name I give to my sat-nav.
Right.
And she likes to interrupt to give me directions, which is her job.
Right.
Fair enough. But when you listen to songs, it's all right because you know the lyrics, so you sing over the top of Deborah.
Right.
When you're listening to a podcast, she just plain cuts it off.
Oh, Deb.
And when you're like, you get into like a city centre, you've got a roundabout here and then a left turn, then a roundabout, and then she tells you about the roundabout 3 more times till you get to it and tells you how many yards away it is. And I'm like, I just want to listen to these people having a lovely time.
And Deborah's like, oh, go over here.
Exactly, yeah.
Go over there.
I'm like, Debbie, shut up.
Debbie, no less.
And it's Debbie, yeah. And it has, and so my lovely drives where I belt out whatever songs I can think of has now turned into me shouting at Deborah.
The unwanted podcast guest.
Yeah.
Does it make me a psycho that I've never, ever had my sat-nav on loud? So it's silent.
So you just have to like glance down and...
Well, no, I have it like stuck to the windshield. And I just glance, but I trust myself. I know how to follow directions. And I don't need no man's telling me how to do it.
Well, apparently I do need a Deborah, but I paid so much attention on the drive here today. I was like, right, I am going to remember every village that I drive through, every road name, because I'm like, the sooner I can get rid of Deborah and find my way here on my own, I'm not very good at directions.
Yeah.
Then she can stop interrupting my podcasts.
Okay, well, R.I.P. Debs.
How about you though? What's going on with you?
Also not a lot. However, this weekend just gone, I took the chance. So do you do like a wardrobe changeover, like winter to summer?
I
Summer
do
to winter.
not.
Okay. So you're not going to be wearing like your shorts, your t-shirts, your swimwear, all the rest of it throughout the winter months. And storage is a premium. So you put all of your summer stuff away, you get all of your woolies, like your jumpers, your tweeds, all the cute stuff, and you do the wardrobe changeover. It's a big project.
Okay.
You've never heard of the girls doing this?
No, I do, yeah. The thing is, and maybe it's more of a parenting having no money kind of thing, my changeover involves getting the jumpers out of retirement.
That's what I mean.
The sweatshirts and the hoodies. But I mean, the t-shirts are the same, jeans are the same, shorts sometimes if your jeans are dirty.
Yeah. But I mean, you won't be wearing your summer dresses, Dan.
Well, That's between me and my bedroom mirror.
Good grief. Anyway, all this to say, I didn't actually do my wardrobe changeover this weekend. But what I do and what I have started doing is doing like a house changeover. And I know this is probably having like too much time on my hands because I don't have children. But I changed the art on the walls. I changed the lamps. I changed the cushions. Like, I don't buy anything new because, you know, in this economy,
Cost of living.
honestly. But, you know, I get the cozy, like wintry, like practical magic-y kind of like vibes, and I pull them out and I just like cozy the place up a little bit.
Like, get your cinnamon candles out and your nutmeg spices.
In my cauldron. No, but like, so I did that this weekend. I just cozied at the house because, like, I don't know, like, if it's just me, but my environment, like the vibe really needs to be right. Do you know what I mean? Cozified the vibe.
Yeah, you need like burnt oranges and
Exactly.
tangerine.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
No, I love that. Yeah, I just live in pure chaos. So.
Yeah, you do.
So,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no wardrobe changeover, no house changeover. Personality changeover.
From minute to minute.
Yeah. No,
She's not stable.
You know what I mean, though. Like, you know, as the nights draw closer and the days grow shorter, and you go from this like optimistic, all this time we're going to be so like healthy, we're going to go for walks and whatever, and then winter comes, you're like, do you know what? Blanket, TV,
hot carbohydrates.
Not that I drink hot chocolate, it's disgusting. But
what?
Hot chocolate.
Bowls opinions. I mean, if it's like a shitty powder hot chocolate, then yeah, I get you. But
no, because like we've got a valvetizer, like the Hotel Chocolat thing.
Oh,
and it's all like the nice.
Your Majesty.
I must have found £100 down the back of the sofa one day. Not my sofa. But yeah, so I don't even like that. Like the only hot chocolate I kind of like is a mint hot chocolate.
Oh yeah. Options. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it?
Well, because I used to work in a cafe, and they had mint syrup and hot chocolate, so it's like a proper, mint hot chocolate. Yeah. That I could get on board with, but I don't fuck with hot chocolate.
Okay, good to know.
So,
dating versus dad life. How was your week as a dad?
Father. So I wanted to talk about today is kids' parties.
Oh, wow. I thought the Halloween episode was last week.
Yeah, but you're right. They are scary, for parents as well. And so we had the first kids' party since my firstborn started school. So it's new parents, it's new kids. But I find there's like a lot of etiquette that comes with kids' parties. Because like the first thing, obviously you have to take a gift. You're expected to take the child a gift. Right. But then it's like how much you want to spend on this gift. Right. Because there are up to 30 kids in a child's class. Wow. So if every one of them had a party.
You could make a bundle. That could be a racket. Finally, a reason to have children.
No. But yeah, so it could, like, the cost of these gifts can stack up in the course of a year. So it's always like, what do you take? And you don't want to be the person that takes like the worst present, but you also don't want to spend like loads of money on this kid that you barely know.
Do you think people are that judgmental that they'd be like, damn cash and shitty gifts?
No, I don't think they are. This is the thing, because I wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't cross my mind. No. And you barely even get a look in. Like once the kids start unwrapping their presents, you don't know who's from what, what's from who. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, but it's something that you do have to like think about it. The second thing is like, so obviously we have 2 children. So you're like, do you take the sibling? Because obviously you cater, you get, your child is invited. The catering is for a number of people. Right. The party bags at the end, they'd have done a set number of those. Oh, yeah. So then if you were to take the younger sibling of the child who's invited, do you then cause like a stir because they're like, oh, we haven't got anything for this child? So does one parent have to stay at home with the other children or child and the other person go on their own to this kids' party?
It's a lot more complicated than I thought it was.
I know, right?
When you were saying like kids' party etiquette, I thought you just meant like keep your top on.
Well, I think...
Which is useful information.
I think it's a good job you haven't got kids.
I think so.
Kids' parties, it's quite stressful for the parents, you know. Yeah. And for the kids, because like the kids also want to know what they're going into sometimes. And when you can't really tell them, like we turned up, I didn't know if there was going to be party games, pass the parcel. I didn't know who was going, what kids had RSVP'd. So our child's like, oh, who's going to be there? Is my best friend going to be there? I don't know. What are we going to do?
You need an itinerary.
You basically do, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to reduce anxiety and increase
Definitely.
fun.
I mean, I need a plan. I need people to tell me what's going on.
I barely even have a plan.
I do. I need to know. I'm like, my mind just wanders, like when's the ritual sacrifice? Like when's the flaying alive?
Yeah, when does the good stuff start happening?
Exactly. But I actually kind of had a little foray into your world, the world of you procreators.
Okay, right. You shouldn't really go to kids' parties unless.
How else am I going to meet dads?
A child. I mean, there is that.
Look, scratch that. No, so
dads or daddies, though.
They can be both. I went to the village hall in the village where I live because some of my friends who have lots of children were doing like this walk through the village, trick or treating, that kind of stuff. And I went and did face paints on the kids.
Fun.
Yeah. And it actually was nice. And the kids were lovely. I really enjoyed it. And then I went around like trick or treating with all of them. And we had a great time. I feel like my emotional intelligence was at a level that was met.
See, I would have thought you were going to say like, at Christmas where you have somebody dresses up as Santa.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, you went in and dressed up as the witch. Sit on my knee, children.
Okay, well, let's cut that rumor right there. I mean, I know we talk about like me. I know I joke about me not liking children, which actually isn't a joke because I'm not a huge fan. No, I kid. I do like all my friends' kids, and all my friends are great. But I know those kids. I know their families. But it was nice. It was nice to to be sociable and be part of that. I loved leaving it though, like getting home to my quiet house where there isn't like jam and snot on everything.
Yeah. Back to the coven.
Fabulous.
With Patsy Scented.
Back to the castle.
So what's going on in the world of dating?
Well, it's funny you should say that actually. So shut up.
So what's happening in the world of dating?
Well, actually, I was going to talk about dating etiquette. Ooh. So you talked about dad party etiquette.
Dad parties. Now that's something you'd want to be invited to.
Keys in the ball. This is. So I went on a date this weekend just gone with a lovely man who was almost 7 foot tall.
That's a Sasquatch.
He was almost 7 foot tall. Which I got to be honest, actually, in reality, we've been talking for a little while. In reality, 7 foot isn't actually as tall as you think it would be when you yourself are over 6 foot. Do you know what I mean? Like I thought he was going to tower over me, but I was like, oh, okay. You're just slightly bigger than me.
Yeah, because this is the thing, because we're both like, so I'm 6'3".
And I'm like 6'1".
Yeah. So we are both quite tall.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the dating world, the height thing does become a little bit of a consideration.
It's a factor, definitely.
Yeah, because
to be honest, it's more a factor for other people because sometimes if men are shorter, they can get kind of funny about that.
Little complex.
You know what I mean? I'm like Noah's Ark. Come one, come all. Don't. But anyway, basically what I'm saying is that after spending a day with a man who is now considerably taller than me, I would like to offer a formal apology letter and all financial compensation to everyone in my life who is under 6 foot. Because after one afternoon of staring up at this man, my neck was in bits. I've never had that before. Like everybody just kind of looks up at me, which feels correct. But looking up at this man all day, my neck really hurt at the end of that.
Did it make you realise that everyone can see up your nostrils?
Well, I mean, I hadn't considered that, but yeah, I guess that's a new thing to keep me up at night.
It is rare, though, to find people that are taller than us. Like, not that we're, like, freakily tall.
No, but the norm is people who are smaller than us. But I mean, like, it was funny. I was talking to him and he was basically saying, well, this is my height. So this is like normal for me. But we were walking around and people were just like, oh, they're very big. Like people were like looking at us.
He was just knocking his head on every tree branch.
Well, look, this brings me on to the etiquette portion of this segment. So there's a few things that transpire. Lovely guy, by the way, really enjoyed his company, but there were a few things that transpired on a first date that maybe I would have rather didn't.
Okay.
And maybe if someone had a talk to this lovely gentleman about his etiquette on first dates, it would have been better.
Oh dear. I'm intrigued.
So number one, he showed up very hungover.
Oh no.
As in like very hungover, which is not great because you kind of want to be on form.
Yeah.
And you kind of want somebody who isn't looking like they're going to throw up.
And you don't want to smell the vodka on their breath.
Well, look, due to number two, due to said hangover, he had the booze sweats.
Oh no.
For like the first good few hours. And like he was so like sweating out the night before. And I was giving him hankies from my purse. Which, you know, look, I'll give anyone a hanky.
And a panky.
Rude. Accurate. I'll give anyone a hanky, but I don't want to have to on a first date with somebody that I'm trying to find attractive whilst they wipe off the night before sweat from their everything.
Yeah, and your hankies might have been reserved for an emergency on your own.
Well, now I'm hankyless. What am I going to do? So number three, he audibly belched several times during the date. Again, I'm trying really hard to find you attractive now. Like, my natural state is not to find men en masse attractive in any way. So I'm doing my best. So if you could stop sweating on me and belching in my face, I think it would go a little bit better.
Was he Hagrid?
No, he wasn't.
That's what the kind of picture I'm getting in my head.
No, Hagrid was a gentleman.
This giant that burps and sweats and...
Number four, so we went to a lovely arboretum, which is like a tree museum, effectively.
Tree museum.
And at one point, he relieved himself behind a tree.
I'm hoping he stood and not squatted.
I don't know. I wasn't there. And we were less than 5 minutes from the toilet. And he decided to pee on a tree in the open.
So he's
on
a dog.
First date. Like, so much promise.
Where?
Behind a tree, I guess.
No, where's the promise?
Well, oh yeah, okay. Well, no, because we've been talking, and he's a lovely, lovely man. Like he was great company. Like I laughed a lot, but I feel like it's those kind of things that will take you out of the romantic space into, oh, I could see me being your friend and having a fun time space. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of need, like, for the romantic part to happen, I feel like you need to do the dance a little bit, and you need to have a little bit of mystery, and you need to hold a few things back. For example, your gas. So yeah, sadly that wasn't ideal. So just a few etiquette points for you there. Elsewhere in the week in dating, I've identified a few subtle red flags that are on people's dating profiles.
I love this stuff. Dating profiles is my favorite.
You love this, don't you? You absolutely love this. If I ever actually find someone, you're going to be so unhappy.
It's because I've never used a dating app.
Oh, lucky you.
So I have no no first-hand experience. I've never scrolled through any of these Tinder, Hinge, Bumble ever. So for me, this is all new and novel and fun.
Imagine if you were looking for an apple in a barrel full of feces.
Well, I wouldn't eat it.
You'd have to, or you'd starve. That's dating apps. So my subtle red flags for online dating, and I say subtle because it took me a minute to kind of clock what they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when somebody over the age of 30 lists as what they're looking for from a relationship as don't know yet.
Don't know yet.
You're over 30 and you don't know what you want, and you're out here trying to make that my problem.
Yeah, the thing is with indecisiveness as well is in general, does not make a good dating partner.
No, And also, like, they give you the options. You can say, I want something casual, I want a relationship, etc. But I don't know yet. Look, Tom, figure it out and come back to me.
I feel like either that kind of person is so insecure that they're too afraid to admit in a public space that they want something serious,
or casual.
They want something casual, but they don't want to admit that because they're afraid of being judged.
Precisely. And that logic takes me on to my next red flag.
Ooh, little segue.
When they say is their political alignment moderate.
There.
That's just not brave enough to say that you're right wing.
You're a Tory.
Honest to God. Or not political.
I hate that you cannot be not political.
Have you seen the world?
You cannot be apolitical in a society that continues to fuck up various communities of people.
Precisely. So effectively what you're saying with moderate, you're saying I'm right wing and also a complete pussy because I'm not brave enough to say it. Or with not political, you're saying I just don't really care about people who are getting marginalised and eradicated in this society.
Exactly. Have you seen that video? It was at the Tory Party conference of, I don't know who it was, and she basically said, "Oh, it's it's really hard because you say you're a Tory and you get judged and you get people think you're a certain kind of way, and like she's basically crying about the fact that she says she's a Tory and people go like, how can you be a Tory?" And it's like, well, that's nothing in comparison to what you do to...
Yeah, it must be so difficult to be judged on things.
Oh, God, that privilege must be so hard to bear.
Fuck the Tories. Did you hear that? Fuck the Tories. Let's just make that clear.
Fuck them all.
I don't think any of our listeners are going to be Tories. And if they are, are the doors.
Bye. Go listen to Rishi Sunak's speeches.
Yeah, I'm learning it, This whole online dating thing is a skill and I'm trial and error.
But it is though, isn't it? And it's communication, but like I feel like people have really good social cues and some people don't. So I feel like I'm a good judge of character, and I feel like I can kind of clock somebody quite quickly because they say that you judge someone within 7 seconds of meeting them. So when you're on dating apps, that 7 seconds happens on that profile. So you think how long, like you can scroll a whole profile in 7 seconds and pick out the keywords and pictures. So you've got to make sure that you are putting across everything that you truly are, because you're going to get clocked for it immediately as soon as they meet you in person or send you a message.
Exactly. And I ended up having to put more information on my dating profile than I would have liked to, because I was attracting people, for example, who were right wing, and that doesn't align with any of my values as a person.
No.
So I had to then put, 24-hour bra burning sessions on my lawn. Everybody welcome. But yeah, because I was sick of attracting people who were inappropriate for what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think on my dating profile, I would just have fuck the Tories.
I mean, that'll do it.
Right, so now we're moving on to your big Ds, where you've sent us some of your dilemmas and you want some help making some big life decisions. Thank you so much to everyone that has sent us in messages on Instagram and emails. If you have anything you want our help with for some wild reason, you can find us on Instagram at 2bigdspod. 2 is always spelled out TWO, or you can email us 2bigdspod@gmail.com, and we will do our best to not ruin your life. But we're not doing a very good job of that.
Well, I think there's moments of insight.
There's moments of insight and long periods of insanity.
I mean, why else would you listen to this podcast? So I've got a dilemma from a listener who is very kind to write in something that they'd like help with.
Good.
It's a bit of a sad one, I'm afraid.
Oh dear.
But we'll see if we can help this person. So she says, "Dear Dan and Danny," good start. "I'm currently having an incredibly hard time due to the death of my old dog, Jess, who passed away several weeks ago. I'm finding it impossible to move on and remain devastated by the loss. He was always by my side, and as I live alone, I was devoted to him and would talk to him all the time. When I walked him, people would often come up and speak to me. Somehow, when you have a dog, it makes you more approachable. I feel lost without him and lonely, made worse by the lack of understanding from those around me. I can't believe that my friends have been so insensitive and hardly mentioned my loss. I'm trying to decide if I should get another dog or if it's too soon. Also, I feel hurt by the reactions of the people in my life, and I don't know if I should tell them how I'm feeling.
Wow.
Difficult one.
That is tricky. I always find it hard with animals and pets because some people just don't understand. They might not have ever had that connection, and they just will never understand unless they have that. But dogs especially, I think, represent so much more than just the animal that you have in your house.
Yeah.
And I think it's a awful thing, but I think you can't get through these things without support of people around you. And I think you can only, on that part of the question, you can only ever be honest. And they're not gonna judge you in any horrible kind of way or hold it against you that you're feeling, sad about the death of your dog and also feeling lonely that you've got nobody to grieve with. Because when a person dies, quite often you will have people who
support network.
And you have other people that are grieving, going through the same thing. You lean on each other, you rely on each other for support. And if it's just you and your dog, then you don't have that kind of same network, and you need to, build that. And the only way you can do that is by being honest and telling your friends how you feel.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think it's interesting what you say about people not understanding, because, people who don't have children don't understand a lot of what people who have children go through. People who don't have dogs as companions in their lives, they don't understand. But you need to have empathy. You need to have empathy for the people in your life and for what they're going through. And, it's really unfortunate that this person feels like their support network doesn't have the levels of empathy they need to have to support her through her loss. And, like you said, dogs mean different things to everybody. Like some people just want like a something poodle doodle do to like complete the family in pictures at Christmas, and they don't really give a shit. And then some people have got dogs, kind of like mine, who I rescued, who are huge parts of their life, and they support you and they get you outside, which is obviously great for your mental health. I personally wouldn't like people coming up to me to talk to me because I have a dog. That's just me being antisocial. But it's really difficult. It's really difficult.
But I will say, my opinion, I don't know if this is shared by many, is that when you lose human people, you can't replace those people. You can't replace the fact that what they represent. So if it's an auntie or if it's anyone, you can't replace what they are. But with an animal, you can't replace that animal and the personality and everything like that. But you can fill that hole that has been left in your life when you do take on another pet, another dog. And I do think, actually, I personally feel like a huge part. And you see this all the time. People lose a pet and they say, I don't know if I can get another one. And they do, and they get them from a puppy, and then they're just obsessed with this kind of new, this new animal they've brought into their life. I'm a big advocate of, you don't have to be ready necessarily to move on, but it will help fill that void that's been left in your life.
Yeah. So I very much believe that you should rescue an animal. I rescued mine. There are so many that are in shelters that need loving homes. And, especially having rescued my dog, which I'd never done before, I think if I were to lose my sweet Patsy 10 Tits, I think it would take me a while to be emotionally ready to be what another animal would need from me. But I do think definitely that, there's a way to move forward, let's say, rather than moving on. But I hope that helped. And I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Yeah, well, that's so sad.
Yeah.
Right, so I have a dilemma here. It's quite long.
Okay.
It's quite a long D.
Okay.
You have to bear with it.
Okay.
But it's quite a good one. So, I have a best friend who I met in college. We've been friends for the best part of a decade. I am female and he is male. We're both straight, but nothing has romantically happened between us. I couldn't imagine my life without him. We speak every day and we know each other better than any other person in either of our lives. I don't see him being a male as an issue. And I know if I had the same kind of close bond to a female, there would be no issue. I know he feels the same way about me. However, our friendship and closeness has caused issues in the past. People struggle with the idea that two people of the opposite sex can be close and there not be something going on. I have just started to date a new guy and I really, capital letters, like him. problem is he doesn't like the relationship I have with my best friend. He has pointed out he dislikes that I talk to him every day, that I spend most of my free time with him, and just the friendship in general. I've tried to reassure him as much as possible there's nothing to worry about, but it doesn't seem to be working. Do I tell the new guy to take a hike, as I'm not going to end a close friendship for him, or is this going to be an ongoing problem and I will end up old and lonely? Would either of you be uncomfortable if your partner's best friend was of the opposite sex?
Now look. Firstly, you're not going to end up old and lonely because there are more things in this life than romantic relationships.
With men.
Precisely. Firstly, this, also this sounds like the plot to Dawson's Creek. So my ears are pricked.
Never seen it.
You've never seen Dawson's Creek?
No.
Okay, well, that's for another podcast. So I think it's definitely worth examining if there are any behaviors that you and your friend are exhibiting that might make people feel uncomfortable, like there's more that's going on there. Because it's one of two things. Either your friendship is maybe closer than you think it is, or that you're admitting it is, or you're both choosing to date people who aren't very secure and you're not able to give them the reassurance that they need within your romantic relationships with them. Like, that's one or two things that's happening here. And I'm very much like, if it's for me, then it'll be mine. And if it's not, then I won't worry about it. But what I would say is that if this friendship means as much as you say it does, and as you feel it does, you've got to prioritize that over people who, are feeling insecure about that. And the thing is, if you're dating somebody who you're really into and you're spending a lot of time with them, you're going to spend a little less time with your friends. It's just how it happens.
Yeah.
And like, your good friends kind of get that you kind of need to go off for a little bit and enjoy this relationship.
Yeah.
But I know that you will have...
I'm so surprised that you had such a leveled response.
Me?
Yeah. I thought you were going to say what I was going to say.
Well, but this is the thing. You have a best friend who is a woman.
Yeah. All of my best friends are, well, apart from like a couple, but throughout my entire life, my friends have been girls and women.
Yeah.
And it's never caused problems in my relationships because I just don't give a fuck.
Oh.
Basically. And I know that sounds bad, but I don't know if it does. My whole thing is, it all revolves around jealousy.
Yeah.
I, as a rule, am not a jealous person. I'm jealous of people that, go on nice holidays. I'm like, I wish I could do that. And I'm envious of that. But in a relationship, I'm just not jealous. And if I was in a relationship and they're like, I'm not cool with that, I'll say, okay, that's a you problem. You're jealous. Sort it out. And I know this sounds really blunt, but I am not going to change my friendship with people that have been there for me in the hardest times and who have supported me and who love me for who I am authentically. I'm not going to change any of that for you.
But counterpoint, you should change yourself, I think, a little bit, in my opinion. Not just generally. I mean, well, you should just be different. No, because I've been in situations where, partners maybe haven't given me like the bedding in, the onboarding, if you will, into the friendship groups. They kind of just leave you to fend for yourself, which is not great because you do need a little bit of literal hand holding. You need somebody to be like, these are my friends. This is how you interact with them. This is how we're all going to get on, because it matters if you like somebody. And like now, dating at my age, like, I remember when I first started dating when I was like in my like late teens, and I'd be like, these are my girls. They're better than you are. They always come first, X, Y, and Z. And yes, that is absolutely still true. However, I wouldn't say it. And my friends kind of like, we're at the point now where they just know that. Yeah. Like, I don't need to make a song or dance about how much my friends mean to me because it's understood, because we're at that point in our lives where nothing's ever rocked us and men have come and gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I don't think you should tell the guy to take a hike. I think he will do that himself if he needs to do that. And I always think as well, like, I'm not a very tactful, I'm not really touchy-feely kind of person. So I suppose there's that element, if you and your best friend are really touchy-feely and you hug a lot and whatever, maybe you could tone that down a little bit.
Be sensitive.
And if you're on a date night or you're watching a movie with your partner, maybe don't be texting your best friend.
Yeah.
Things like that. But that's just kind of what
just
you would
be
do
sensitive
anyway.
to it. Everybody's different. Like,
Yeah.
just because it makes sense and it's straightforward to you doesn't mean that's how it looks to everybody else. So just kind of, just be sensitive as you can. But, if it gets to the point when you've done everything that you think that you can do and they're still not feeling secure in your relationship, if it's for me, it'll be mine. If it's not, I'll release it back to the universe like a little fish. And away you go.
I think that's a great note to end it on. I think we genuinely helped this week.
I think, we did our best.
A miracle has happened. I think we gave good Ds.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for writing in with your big Ds. If you want us to help you with your life decisions, it's 2bigdspod on Instagram, or you can email us at 2bigdspod@gmail.com. And the 2 is always TWO. So do you want to hear my big D?
Absolutely.
It's going to echo through your ears. My big D this week is dino myths.
Dino myths?
Yes.
Like dinosaurs?
Well, we've got to squeeze things into the D. So what I'm going to talk about is the Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
Oh, Nessie.
Oh, Ness.
All right, Nessie, how's it going?
Get a monster.
And she's not technically a dinosaur, okay? So she is a plesiosaur, not a plesiosaurus.
Okay. Wow, there's a difference?
Apparently so. I'm hoping I pronounced this right as well, but, who cares? I'm right. And a plesiosaur is an extinct Mesozoic marine reptile.
Right.
So not quite a dinosaur, but extinct, apparently. How do you know when things are extinct?
I think you just don't see them down the shops anymore.
Because, I just genuinely know. How do you know that you've looked everywhere?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Is Nessie extinct? Have we looked everywhere?
Have we looked everywhere? Well, there have been constant sightings of the Loch Ness Monster for what feels like forever. I remember learning about it at school, and it was a bit like the Bermuda Triangle or quicksand. I was like, one day I'm going to just stumble upon old Nessie. Do you know what I mean? One day the Bermuda Triangle is going to really be an issue.
I thought that the Bermuda Triangle would interfere way more with my life than it actually does now.
Exactly, right? So the reason I want to talk about Loch Ness Monster at the moment is because the 12th of November marks the 90th anniversary of the first ever photograph of Nessie being taken.
Right.
So in terms of documentation, like what we would consider proof nowadays, photos, videos, you can kind of say that it was 90 years ago that we had the first real kind of evidence that something might exist in the old Loch of Ness. So the first ever image of Nessie was taken by a man called Hugh Gray, but reports of the beast, the monster that dwells in the deep, report way back to ancient times. And there are local stone carvings by the Pict that depict a mysterious beast with flippers. So people would consider that to be the first ever kind of depiction of the Loch Ness Monster. The first written account appears in the 7th century biography of St. Columba.
Wow.
Now, I have a tendency to laugh at things that aren't necessarily funny. This did make me laugh. According to that, in 565 AD, the monster bit a swimmer and was prepared to attack another man when Columba intervened, ordering the beast to go back. And apparently...
to Party City where it belonged.
Go back to Party City. Apparently, Nessie did go back to Party City. But what I find funny with this is we're supposed to just believe a man that he saw the Loch Ness Monster, and the monster, rather than taking a bite at him like he's just done for the swimmer, just listened to him saying, "Go back.
Well,
you shall not pass."
Well, if it was Gandalf, then I believe it.
Maybe it was.
He was commanding.
But yeah.
I mean, there sounds like there's some sort of male egoic embellishing there.
But it's the thing, isn't it? Because obviously, with all this mythical creatures folklore, you rely on word of mouth.
Yeah.
Which is why the picture being taken 90 years ago is so significant, because actually you get this kind of visual of what the Loch Ness Monster could look like, and that picture matches all these different descriptions and depictions and drawings of what they think the monster, the beast, looks like. So it's quite yeah, it's quite interesting.
I kind of love the fact that whether or not there is a Loch Ness Monster, there is a mythology there. Like 500 AD, like that's a long time ago that this has been happening.
Yeah, you were just a baby.
Do you know what? I was in my early 20s. No, but you know, whether or not there's a Loch Ness Monster, there's a very human element to this of stories passed down like over 1,500 years now. And I think that's actually quite special.
No, I agree. I think it's the thing is, I think nowadays we're so used to things just taken off so quickly. So like now, if somebody spotted a beast in an area of Scotland, there'd be photos and videos. Then people would be on TikTok and Instagram and all sorts talking about it and giving their opinion of it. You'd have scientists raging in. You'd have people doing all this kind of work on it. And within about a day,
you'd know.
It would be disproved.
Yeah.
Like, because people are so intent on being right now. They want to disprove that. Anything they see, there's any kind of rumor happening, they're like, nope, that's wrong, and I can prove it right now. And they want to be that person that's done it.
And we're used to having resolution now.
Yeah.
Like we used to be able to like Googling things and then you know, and then that's resolved and then you move on.
Yeah.
Back in the day, unless you had a 36-piece Encyclopedia Britannica, you weren't really going to know. And there was a lot more mystery and people were a lot better than that. And I think, you know, being in Britain, we are like a mystery sort of isle in terms of mythology. Like, you know, I'm Welsh, we have dragon on the flag. Like there's unicorns on like royal coats of arms and all that kind of, you know.
George and the Dragon.
Precisely.
I love the fact that there are some of these mysteries that have gone on for so many centuries that still exist because we don't have definitive proof. And also, we're so used to this stuff that if somebody did come out with definitive proof, I feel like we'd just go, no, let's just ignore that.
Let
I don't want
the
to see
mystery
that.
be.
Yeah, I don't want to know what you think of the dinosaur in the frozen lake. Piss off and let me have this.
Yeah, but also we don't know everything. You know, I saw, I think it was on TikTok, I saw somebody talking about the fact that, you know, we have only explored or mapped 5% of our oceans on this planet, the majority of this planet, which is ocean. And they were saying how there's like a biological law that applies to all life that limits how big you can get as an animal. And apparently at a certain depth of the ocean, that law doesn't exist. So theoretically speaking, there is no limit to how big a creature can become at the bottom of the ocean. Right. So, I mean, that's just, you know, I don't know if there's like a Godzilla down there just chilling.
I mean, the amount I eat, if I went down there, I'd probably explode.
I mean, the law doesn't apply to you either, apparently. One huge D. So yeah, no, we don't know it all, and there are mysteries, I'm sure.
And also, how do we know that we've only explored 5% of the ocean? How do we know that that's the number?
Well, we ran out of string, didn't we?
So that was my big D. Anyway, old Nessie, our good friend.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I really enjoyed that. I love a Loch Ness Monster and level myths and things. So it was good to learn more about that. And happy 90th anniversary to the first picture of Nessie. You look good for it. Okay, so my big D for this week. Do you want to hear it?
Of course, always.
Okay, so I famously struggle with things like temperatures, dates, time zones, all that kind of stuff. Like if you were to tell me it's like 33 degrees, what does that even mean? To whom?
I'm with you on that.
Honestly, like, was it warmer than yesterday? No? Great, I'll put a scarf on. That's about as far as my understanding goes. So for this, I took the opportunity to debunk one of those pieces of logic that I have missing.
Yeah.
And that is daylight savings time.
Daylight savings time.
We've just put our clocks. By the way, this is the first time in my life I've been able to say this with certainty. We have just put our clocks back in this country.
Do you get confused when it's back and forward?
No. Back, forward, side to side.
Because you fall back and you spring forward.
Precisely. I now know this as part of my research for this episode.
Sorry, I've ruined it.
No. It's good that I didn't know that. People were like, we put the clocks. I don't care where you put your clock. I don't know what it means. I don't know what any of it means. However, I do now. So daylight saving time, also referred to as daylight savings time, daylight time, or summertime, is the practice of advancing clocks during winter months so that darkness falls at a later clock time. So how long do you think that we've been doing this?
I know it's been a while.
Been a minute.
It's been a minute. I mean, it's been at least my lifetime. I would wager guess at like 500 years.
It's only been 115 years.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot longer than that.
So Jesus wasn't out there turning his clocks back.
His sundial.
Moving it slightly at a different angle.
So the typical implementation of daylight savings time is to set clocks forward 1 hour in either the late winter or spring. So you spring forward, and then you set the clocks back by 1 hour in the fall, quote North American English, you fall back.
Well, I just told you that.
I know, I'm reinforcing. You were right. Enjoy it.
That happen often.
What I didn't realize was that it's only a minority of the world's population that uses DST.
Not everyone does it.
No. So Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean generally don't. And also countries that are on the equator generally don't do it because the difference in daylight isn't as significant as elsewhere.
Makes sense.
So why do you think we do this, Dan?
The only logic I can apply to it is that so you have, because obviously you want longer days in the summer. No, is it nights?
You can just say you don't know.
But it's I don't know.
So I always thought, it's funny, isn't it? Because we all know this, we all do this in our part of the world, and in North America there's lots of other places that do it, but not a lot of people know why we do it.
No.
So I thought it was something to do with farmers and agriculture.
Okay.
I thought 500 years ago, we were more governed by when you could be out in the fields working X, Y, and Z. However, that is literally the opposite. So it's a common myth, especially in the United States, that this was first implemented for the benefit of farmers, where in reality, farmers have been one of the strongest lobbying groups against it since it was first implemented, because the factors that influence farming schedules, such as morning dew and dairy cattle's readiness to be milked, are ultimately dictated by the sun. So the time change introduces unnecessary challenges.
Yeah, I can see that.
So why do we do this? Originally, it was introduced to conserve candles.
Right.
So the idea of aligning waking hours to daylight hours to conserve candles was first introduced in 1784 by American founding father, Benjamin Franklin. So he wrote in a satirical letter to the editor of the Journal of Paris that waking up earlier in the summer would economize on candle usage and calculated significant savings for people at that time. So his letter suggested that Parisians economize on candles by rising earlier in the morning, and proposed taxing window shutters, rationing candles, and waking the public by ringing church bells and firing cannons at sunrise.
Cannons?
Would have pissed me off a treat, let me tell you.
Is this where the phrase "at my wit's end" comes from?
Oh, it may do. No, it's wit's end.
I'm at my wit's end.
Wit's end.
Oh my god, I just.
Oh my. it's wit, like faculties. My wit's end.
I thought it was my wit's end. I thought I was being really clever, and now I've just.
Well, you have been burning the wit at both ends.
What?
Silly goose.
My wit's end.
So despite common misconception, Franklin didn't actually propose DST because 18th century Europe didn't really keep precise schedules. And the only reason that we started keeping precise schedules was as rail transport and communication networks required us to get our shit together, basically.
Right, that makes sense.
And now all the trains run on time and everything's fine. So DST was officially used in 1908 for the first time in Ontario, Canada. But
Danny,
do you think we still need this?
Now look, right, coming from a parent,
right?
Absolutely fucking not. Do you know how much this hour fucks around with the kids' sleeping schedules, and you've got to keep them awake for an hour later. And like the spring is the worst because like the clocks will go change, and you've got to try and like stagger their bedtime for a few days to try and get back to the routine that you have. Like honestly, it's such a pain in the dick. So like, no, get rid of DST.
But look at you, you're rolling in that candle money that you've saved.
Oh yeah, I've got stocks and shares in Yankee.
Honestly, but I mean, even with me, just having the dog, she's now coming in at 6 a.m. being like, bitch, it's light out, let's get outside. And I'm like, no, an old white guy from hundreds of years ago just decided I had to get up early today.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'm not having any of it. The only good thing about it is when you're young and you're free and you're out and you're partying and you're dancing your tits off and drinking Jaeger bombs, the clocks go back at like 1 a.m. You get an extra hour of clubbing. And I did used to love that.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. No, it isn't. It's still 2. And then you have another hour.
God, yeah, I remember that. But also, I mean, I think for me, I find that it's harder when the days get shorter. And The Guardian have just published an article at 16 ways to start your day well now that the clocks have gone back. And there are a few useful suggestions in there to kind of start your day on the right step now that things are a little bit colder and a little bit darker. So one person wrote in, I don't lie in bed and fight the clock. I make a hot, milky coffee and I take my hammock out to the garden, which is secluded and quiet. I hitch it up, climb into the hammock and watch the stars in the sky as they slowly extinguish by the dawn.
I hate that person.
What an arsehole. I don't even have a hammock.
I don't even have a ham.
Okay, well, we won't be implementing that. Someone else said, I've never been a morning person and always struggled to get out of bed. I literally brighten up dark mornings using a high wattage daylight bulb on a time switch in the bedroom, set to go off at the same time as the alarm clock. It's a bit of a shock, but it helps to keep my body clock in sync.
Have they tried having a wank? I love shocking you.
Wow, things do get darker, don't they? Wow. And then someone else has said, and so, oh no, what was that? Someone else has said, hard, stop it. So somebody from Oslo said, I know it's supposed to be hygge, or however you pronounce that, skiing candles, but Scandinavians these days do it with the help of vast amounts of coffee. Norwegians drink a lot of coffee, and the further north you go, the more free coffee there is. Half a year ago, I bought a used espresso machine. That's how I'm getting through the dark times this winter. Relatable.
100%.
Finally, something like a muse, mainlining caffeine.
Absolutely. Coffee is like my life juice.
So yeah, daylight savings time. It's kind of inconvenient. I don't really know why we still do it. And maybe we should get rid of it.
I think we should get rid of it. I'm in camp eradicate.
Great. We agree on it.
But that was interesting because we shaking hands. But no, we didn't I didn't know anything about that. It's the thing, isn't it? It's something that you live and you have lived forever. It's always been part of your life. You just never question these things.
No.
We're sheep.
And let me tell you, before the clocks went back automatically, the chaos in my life you would not believe.
Oh, it's the car. It's the car clock, isn't it?
For me, it was just perpetually showing up to work an hour late or early once a year, twice a year. It happened all the time.
Yeah. No, it's iPhones, smartphones, I should say.
Yeah, smarter than me anyway.
Honestly. Oh, I did a youism.
So, who do you think gave the best tea of the week, Dan?
I think we were quite on par with each other.
Yeah.
I enjoyed your daylight saving time. I listened. I enjoyed that part because it is something that you just don't ever think about, do you?
No.
And your dating stories. Like, I just want you to read me dating profiles, like the whole episode. I love that stuff.
I'll just get progressively sadder through this series of this podcast every time I say, when I get worn down. Do you know what? I loved your D about the Loch Ness Monster. I love that. I think it's charming, it's interesting, it's intriguing. And it was good to learn about the etiquette. at parties for children.
Children's
However,
parties.
I'm going to go rogue. I'm going to say I won this week because I now know that the clocks went back.
You've learned a new
I've learned
rhyme,
something in my life.
a rhyme that you can implement twice a year.
Precisely. And also, I feel like after the weeks I've been having in the world of dating, I need a win. So I'm going to give myself.
No, I think, and your dating tales. How can we forget with the belching giant? I'm happy to give you the best day of the week.
It's my future
round of
husband we're
applause.
talking about there. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Two Big D's podcast. Join us next week where we
unravel
2 more big D's for your enjoyment.
In the meantime, come and say hi and rate our D's across social media. We are at 2 Big D's Pod on everything. The 2 is always TWO. And just a quick one to say thank you so much for all the ratings and reviews and follows and everything we've had so far. If you do want to give us a 5-star rating, feel free. Go ahead.
Review, subscribe. Thank you. Unravel.
You got to whip it out.
Lucky us.